Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hooked on Fantasy. I'm your host, once again, Luke Saul, coming back at you with another episode of Hooked on Fantasy. So today we have a lot of stuff to cover because preseason is on. Preseason week 1 is now in the books. If you call fan games, technically we do, but not really. We're not going to count that. It's week 1. It's week 1 of the NFL preseason. Rookie quarterbacks saw a lot of action this past weekend, which we're going to get into. We're going to get into some players that are rising and falling. And that'll be it. We'll have kind of a weekly kind of a preseason recap. And then every Thursday, we're going to have a bit of a preseason, what to look for this coming weekend until the real NFL season starts. And then from there, obviously, we're going to get into all the fantasy goodness of the fantasy football season, projections, predictions, waiver wire, all that jazz. So from this past weekend, some players that I was really impressed with on film were Amon-Ra St. Brown and the running back from the Dolphins, Malcolm Brown, that's taking the place of Myles Gaskin in the last couple snaps in the last game. That was really interesting to me. Malcolm Brown took a lot of the line share of the carries for the Miami Dolphins backfield. Gaskin was active for the game, but he didn't see that much work, which is really interesting to me. I think it's going to be a very interesting trend to follow there in Miami. Moving in, though, real quick to the rookie quarterbacks, because I think we saw a lot of action from these quarterbacks that is very interesting to me. First up, we're going to talk about Mac Jones. Mac Jones saw the first action of any of the rookie quarterbacks against the Washington football team the other day. He played for a decent amount of snaps. I think he threw about 13 passes. Overall, I think he looked really solid. He looked like what I was expecting out of Mac Jones. More of a game manager quarterback that fits the Patriots offense perfectly. I think him and Bill Belichick are forming a perfect marriage there in New England. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how he develops the downfield aggressiveness, who he targets the most, who he targets the less, how much he runs, etc. I think that Jones is a winning football quarterback, though. I think he showed a lot of great tendencies in his preseason action. Sure, preseason, but the quarterback competition between him and Cam Newton this year is going to be really interesting to watch for fantasy. Newton didn't look that great. He looked similar to last year once again. So if Cam Newton plays kind of similar to how he did last year when it comes time for the regular season, I would anticipate Mac Jones to be the starter no later than week 8 or 9. I'm sure, listen, it's Bill Belichick. I get it. He's not the most progressive head coach in the world. But if there is a situation where Mac Jones is playing well, I think that Mac Jones sees the field sooner rather than later if Cam Newton's struggling. That's all I have to say, really. I mean, I think if Mac Jones does become the starting quarterback, he has decent fantasy potential, but I think he'll be a fringe top 15-ish quarterback, if anything. So I wouldn't really be looking to roster Mac Jones unless you're in a Superflex league. Superflex league is obviously different. Every starting quarterback matters, but, nothing too interesting there. Moving into the Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence was pretty much as advertised. He didn't wow you. He didn't look incredible, but for a rookie, I mean, he had a solid preseason game. Same can be said for Zach Wilson, which I was happy with, though, because Zach Wilson, he looked pretty solid. Didn't, drop my jaw or anything, but he looked good. Didn't really make any crucial errors. He looked pretty solid. He needs more practice because he missed a bit of training camp due to his mom begging for money on that contract, the rookie contract. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. Trey Lance, though, is a very interesting one to me because everyone was saying he didn't play that well. And I agree. He didn't look amazing to me, but he did have a couple jaw-dropping highlights, which did really make up for it. So, Trey Lance is a very interesting player to me for fantasy this year because he's going to run a ton. His legs are going to use a ton. His arm is also fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Trey Lance has a cannon of an arm. I really just want to know how ready he is because I think he might be more of a raw prospect than people anticipate. Coming out of training camp, everyone's been hyping him up. Didn't really impress me that much with his preseason performance. I did like what I saw, but I didn't love what I saw. So really interested in all these rookie quarterbacks, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, or if you're listening to the podcast, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what you thought about the rookies' performances. Besides that, from the preseason, I mean, Najee Harris is going to get a lot of work. He's on field for damn near every single snap for the Steelers offense, which is awesome. Like I said, Dolphins-wise, Malcolm Brown is a bit concerning for Myles Gaskin for me. Gaskin is not really one of my favorite running back targets anymore. He's going to be solid in PPR, but the lack of carries might scare me. I think he's going to be a huge goal line vulture this season, which is going to be really, really gross. Tua looks good, though. Tua Tagovailoa, a lot of questions for Tua coming out of last season was, is he really ready? His health wasn't the best. His hip wasn't the best. He didn't push the ball downfield very well last year. He was very inconsistent. Him and Ryan Fitzpatrick had a weird tango thing going on last season. Now it's the Tua show. It's his time. He's going to step up and he's ready. He looked really sharp the other day. He looked really good on Saturday. He was uncorking the ball deep. He had a lot of velocity on his passes. He had good pocket awareness. bit of a happy feet thing going on in the pocket. However, he was making good reads. He was playing well until he made a really, really ugly interception in the red zone. Really, really ugly. You're in the red zone putting the great drive. He targeted somebody right in the middle of the end zone, and he was like triple covered. It was a really, really ugly read. And it kind of brought down the entire performance for me, honestly, because if you're going to finish drives like that, you're not going to go anywhere in the NFL. Tua did look good, though. I'll give him that. He looked good. He looked ready. Jalen Waddle showed some nice flashes of nice bursts of speed. I think the Dolphins are going to be a good team this year. I really do in real life. I think it's going to be an interesting season for the Miami Dolphins in the AFC East, see the relationship with the rest of the teams there. The AFC East might be a solid dark horse division for me, very competitive one. The Bills probably are going to win it for sure, but I'm saying second, third, fourth. It might be a lot tighter than people expect. The Bills, the Patriots, sorry, not the Bills, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Jets. The Jets could improve a lot. I don't know. Their defense is still pretty pedestrian, but I think that if they're heading in the right direction with Zach Wilson at the helm, a lot of things could happen there for sure. All right, let's dive into some news from around the league. I think Terrace Marshall's been impressing people a lot still in training camp. Joe Burrow looked hot today in training camp with Jamar Chase. Training camp news that does suck. There's a lot of injuries going around. Justin Jefferson's coming back from his sprained AC joint today. Limited time of practice. Dak Prescott's still a bit concerning out there right now in Dallas for me. CeeDee Lamb has apparently been showing out in training camp still. Not a surprise there at all. I think Lamb's in for a monster season. One of the things that I'm really curious about this year is Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott has been a workhorse running back in fantasy football for so many years that I think his run might be starting to come to a bit of an end. Last year, he didn't look great, but when Dak was on the field, Zeke was a top 5 running back. When he was off the field, he was very, very, very pedestrian. This season, I want to see who Ezekiel Elliott is. I want to know if he's the workhorse. I want to know if he's just a pass-catching back these days. I want to know if he's going to be toting the entire load. I want to see if Tony Pollard's involved. And I don't really know how I feel about it until we get deeper into the preseason. That's the thing that sucks. It's only week 1. Can't get too much insight now, but I do think it would be nice to see where this goes. I think that Zeke still has some gas left in the tank, but can he put it together? That's my question. That's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Actually, it's going to be a really short episode of Hooked on Fantasy. We'll be back again on Thursday for some more preseason breakdowns and analysis, maybe some mock draft. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I went on vacation last week. That's why I disappeared. Moving into college this Friday, which is exciting. I'll see you guys later. Hooked on Fantasy. Have a good one. Goodbye.